Hello and welcome to another edition of Pub Shed and Home Bar Sessions. I believe this might be the 51st pub shed or home bar that I've chatted to on the Ale and Audio podcast. And obviously also we can use these interviews on Ale and Radio and all that kind of thing as well. It's really nice to meet members of our home bar and pub shed community. And we've got another one today with us as well. I've been looking forward to meeting him. We've been trying to sort it out for a while. So I'd like to introduce today's pub sheddy home bar guest. It is Brad from the Gnomes Rest. How are you doing, Brad?
Hello, I'm pretty good, thank you. How are you?
Yes, very good, thank you. Very nice for you to join us.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, we've been meaning to do it for a while to get you on.
It's been quite almost a year probably about now. I know you mentioned my shed. Would it be about a year ago? I think it's
so we all
sort of a year.
We always start out by giving, new sheddies that we find, or people who've just not had a chance to feature, by doing a short feature in the chat shit shed section of our show, and then eventually it turns into a little full-on interview. So yeah, tell us then, Brad, about your journey. And as you're doing that, I will flash up some pictures on the screen for those that want to head to YouTube after hearing this at some point. Go to YouTube and you'll be able to see some pictures of the Gnomes Rest. But of course, you can head to the Gnomes Rest Instagram page as well. So tell us then, Brad, about your journey as a pub sheddy.
Yeah, so my journey started in, it would be sort of early summer last year. So I think we actually got the sort of shed shell, so to speak, about June time. I think I'm just trying to look at my Instagram to remind myself when that arrived. So it started out as like a pre-built shed. So as you can see from that image there, it's a nice shell. So it's 14 by 10 feet. I sort of was looking at sizes for quite a while.
Big space, isn't it? You can get a lot.
Yeah. It looks a lot larger on the inside than on the outside. It looks quite weird. It's a little bit one of them weird things. You walk in and it just looks a lot larger. There's a lot more floor space than what you'd assume, which I'm quite impressed with, to be honest. It was one of them where I spent a lot of time sort of looking at what sizes would work well for the garden, what sizes I could afford, and also where I had the shed from. So there was a lot of research into that. I wanted it to sort of last a real long time. And in the end, I went for the 14 by 10-foot shed, which you can see here. The journey sort of took me a good few months to sort of insulate it, get everything in there, all the furnishings, things like that. Everything is sort of secondhand. The only thing that's not, you can probably see on the image on the right-hand side, is the floor mats were new from eBay, but they were fairly cheap. I thought that was a nice way to sort of insulate the floor, but also if anything spills, you can just wipe it up quite easy. So it works out quite well. Only other things that were sort of brand new, obviously electrics, the fridge, which is behind the bar that you can't really see from that photo there, was new. The optics as well, I completely forget they're new, but everything else is sort of used really. So I saved quite a lot in all the furniture. So it's a lot of like finds from the Facebook Marketplace. We always like to scroll, every night and see if we can see anything that's interesting. And in the end, we found quite a lot of nice furniture. So in regards to like the process of creating the shed, as I say, it probably took us about, we got the shell in about June. It probably took us till about Octoberish time on the weekends and things like that to get everything ready. So it was insulated. We have, I'm trying to remember what we've got in. We've got polystyrene sheets sort of in between the lining, like so we can see that we have the plywood walls.
Yeah,
there's sheets of polystyrene. I'm just trying to remember the sizes I've got for the walls. So I've got 25mm for the walls, and then I think it's a bit larger in the ceiling. It
makes all the difference, doesn't it? Though,
yeah, easily, 100%. It's really nice in the winter. We had a few little parties in there, and it held up quite well. We've got a little oil-filled radiator, and that's all you need, to be honest. And then since then, we're just adding it onto it.
The two together, having the insulation and something like an oil radiator that's you can kind of have on quite a low setting, and it just keeps it at the right temperature, isn't it? Because the insulation stops the heat escaping. Which is great. And I think, it's one of those things that, it can be a little bit costly. There's ways to do it, cheaper and so on. And it's obviously the effort of doing it as well. But I always say that it's one of that it's definitely worth doing. And it certainly was for me with the studio and stuff like that as well.
Yes, yeah, I agree. I mean, I have seen a few sheds that look really nice from the outside, and they've spent,
Mm.
thousands of pounds, and they haven't insulated it. And I think it might be nice for a year or two. Do you know what I mean? But then, with regards to a wooden shed having a bit of wear and tear, and it's not insulated, I think they had a little heater in there, but I'd always like it to be insulated because then you can use it all year round. We have
Yeah,
used it a little bit in the summer. I think aircon would be nice, I have to say.
yeah.
But if you have a fan on, it's normally relatively all right. It's
That's
not
it. I
too
mean,
bad.
I suppose that's the other thing. The insulation kind of works the other way as well, doesn't it?
Mm.
Like,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
it does stop a little bit of heat coming through. So that's the
Mm.
idea of it as well. But also once the heat's in there, it stays
Yes.
in. And in the summer, I
Yeah.
do admit, I tend to prefer using this place as a
Yeah.
pub and a bar in the winter because it's
Mhm.
just got a nice sort of cozy feel to it. Whereas in the summer, you're kind of battling with the temperatures a bit more, aren't you?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I think something as well that I had in mind at the start was we found a nice little electric fireplace that has that nice like fire effect, which I have to say looks really really nice. Although with that electric heater compared to an oil one, it makes a fair bit of noise, and it can normally have
Yeah.
a little bit of a smell for the first 5-10 minutes it runs. Because obviously, if it's not turned on every day, has like a really shitty smell. Not
Yeah.
shitty smell, sorry, but it just smells like not. You know what I mean? While it like warms up and stuff, but yeah, it's not one that I use often. It is in
it's
there. It's
it's
more just a
trial
look
and
for me.
error. It's trial and
Yes,
error, isn't
yeah,
it? Because like my heating system originally wasn't this like little oil radiator that I've got. I found that the oil radiator is absolutely perfect, but
yeah,
the one before that I think I had one of those really small fan heater type things that you just sort of sit on the floor like an office heater sort of thing.
yes, yeah,
And yeah,
yeah,
they're noisy and they're kind of
yeah,
quite drying as well, aren't they? Is what I find.
yes, yes, that's
Um,
right, yeah,
and then that makes you kind of just a bit more uncomfortable because it makes it sort of feel really dry. The other
mm.
thing that I tried in here was one of those like infrared type things, like
Oh,
that,
okay,
that
yes,
sort of glow, and that was kind of stood
uh-huh.
in the corner. But again, I found from that it was making me feel like I was on a sunbed, and
Yeah,
it wasn't burning my skin, but it was drying. It was just drying everything out a little bit. And the idea of it was it heats the person and
mhm,
not the room,
yeah, yeah,
which is kind of good, in a sense of making sure you feel warm. But then
mm.
it was just again it had that sort of drying thing, so that kind of became an outdoor heater. And yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
the oil radiator is just it's perfect, isn't it? That just
Oh,
does the job
yeah,
perfectly.
easily, and it is quite cheap to run. I had one that I bought second hand, which I won't ever purchase. Sorry, that's something I bought new. I
Yeah,
had one that it had a little was there a little mark on one of the fins? I think it was quite a small one anyway, quite cheap, but
yeah,
it had a little mark, and I thought it was just a mark, but I realised over time it had a little crack just inside
right,
that
okay,
little line, and over time I found like a huge mark of oil on one of them mats. Luckily, it could just wipe up, but then I realised that oil radiator's a little bit fucked, so I probably need a
yeah.
new one. So obviously, I had a new one from Argos, and touch wood, it's been running pretty smooth since. And now it's on, obviously, with our weather. Although it's quite sunny outside, it is a little bit chilly at the minute, so the radiator is on.
That's it. We have a lot of this is the thing about yourself and your pub shed and what you do on your Instagram. You are very focused on those things that maybe new pub sheddies really
Mhm.
want to know about, when
Yeah,
you're starting to
that's
build
right.
and the things you might want to think of in advance. And
Mm.
obviously we'll get on to speaking about that, about your YouTube channel and stuff like
Mm.
that
Yeah, yeah.
very shortly. But before we finish talking about your shed and so on, so yeah, what about the stuff that you really like in the shed? What are the sort of standout things for you that you've got in there? Have you got any sort of features that you're really pleased with?
To be honest, not all of it's probably what I really enjoy. I think, obviously, as you can probably tell from my Instagram, I'm really into all my hobbies. So things like Warhammer. It's a space you can use. There you go, a lovely photo there. I've got a little foldable Warhammer table that we can just chuck up in the shed, and you can, play Warhammer in there. And when you're finished, you want to have a few drinks, you can fold the table away. You can probably see the glass cabinet to the right hand side that was free from Marketplace, which was an awesome find, and it's really nice to show off all like the Warhammer stuff that I've made and things like that to make it look nice.
Yeah, I've seen the
um
cabinet. That looks great. I don't know if we've got any of
yeah.
these pictures, but the cabinet does look great. Yeah,
Yeah, there's also some nice Warhammer art as well on the wall.
yeah,
I've sort of tried to make it look, and obviously the shed is relatively quite new itself, but I've tried to make it look like it's sort of quite aged and older than what it
yeah,
is.
yeah,
I
yeah.
quite like that rustic sort of charm it
Mm.
has. But I think all of it, to be honest, I think I've got two TVs now in there. Only one's currently up and working. So when we had Shed Fest a few
Oh yeah.
weekends ago. I had it on there, which was wicked. I think just I think Warhammer's sort of the main hobby that I sort of use the shed for, because it's nice if you're having a match of Warhammer, you can leave everything in the shed, whereas if it's in your house, you've got to tidy it all away, make room if you're using the table for something else, whereas there you can just leave it. I think I've always liked the thought of just leaving the hobby in the shed, leaving everything you're up to in there can just stay. You can leave it for a few days and then start it again, which I
And that's it.
really
The
enjoy.
multifunctional. There's a lot of people who have got
Mm.
other hobbies attached to their pub shed. Yeah, we all know. I mean, this was supposed to be an office to start
Yeah,
with all those years ago, and it became a pub first. And I
yeah,
didn't even start using, and then I started doing the podcasting. That was in the house, and I brought it all in here. So now it is a podcast studio and a work office and a pub shed for a very small space. But there's other people who do similar things in there. People have got gyms in theirs. I know that, was it Mark at the Bar 78 in Ipswich? I know that he uses this as a gym,
hmm
and there's other people who do similar sort of things
yeah,
as well.
yeah.
And Spenno, he's built, and he's gone as far as building another shed for his music. So yeah, that's what it's all about, isn't it? Like kind of
It is. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. 100%, 100%.
Excellent. So on to there's another unique thing about yourself. I'm going to come on to talk about beers now as well. And I know
Yes,
you've sent us a pub shed advert for our Ale and Radio, and thanks of course, by the way, for all your
that's all
support
right.
that
Yeah, no problem.
you're always promoting the station
Yeah,
and
yeah,
showing
yeah.
your love for the
Anytime,
station.
anytime.
Really, really do appreciate that, and I'm really glad you enjoyed Shedfest. But your advert in particular on Ale and Radio talks about how you think you are the first gluten
Yes.
free. Is it gluten free or celiac
Yeah, yeah,
friendly?
yeah. Celiac friendly, and gluten free. So how that started is I found out I was a celiac about a year and a half ago. So there's a member of my family. So the old man has celiac, and I just sort of assumed I wouldn't ever end up with it. So we've sort of made the shed celiac friendly because we want to make sure everything in there is okay for me to have. So mainly it's ciders and rums. They're normally pretty safe. We have been having in a few gluten free uh, beers, although that's not really my thing. To be honest, ciders are more my sort of what I enjoy. And I found out a few friends have got celiac as well, so that's always nice to know that it's sort of a safe environment. Like if they have a look in the fridge, they know they can have anything out of there. Do you know what I mean? I guess for everybody else that isn't celiac, I mean, ciders are nice for everybody, so
Yeah, yeah.
you can just have a cider. I think it was sort of yeah, but I'm pretty sure I'm the first one. I haven't seen anyone else claim they are, so I'd like to assume I am, but I might be completely wrong. I don't know.
Well, that's fine. I mean, yeah, I think, like I said, I've not seen any to my knowledge, but I'm sure there will possibly be
Mm.
some out there. But
Yeah, yeah.
in terms of, I mean, there's a lot of breweries now that are just out there doing, a lot of gluten-free stuff. And then I know you
Yes,
say
yeah.
cider is your main thing, but if you're talking about beer, there's a lot of
Mm.
breweries that are doing gluten-free beers. Some breweries will do selected beers that are gluten-free, and there's one Triple Point, I believe, which is the one in Sheffield. I think all of their beers now they're committed to being gluten free on, and they do some really great stuff from like your sort of Hellas type lagers and right through to your big dippers. I think they've been doing sours and all sorts of different stuff. So yeah, if I can recommend anything from Sheffield,
Yeah.
try Triple Point. Add them to your list of maybe ones
Okay.
to
What
try.
I'll do, I'll write that down quickly while I'm here.
that's Triple Point Brewco for you.
Triple point.
So have you got a favourite particular brand of cider, or is there just a
Um.
favourite particular cider you like?
So yeah, we like the brand. I've completely forgot the name now. I'm not actually sat in the shed at the minute.
Yeah,
Lily's Ciders. You
yeah.
might have heard of them from Somerset. They do a quite nice range. There was an image you showed earlier where I've got a few of the uh, clips on the wall, and they're sort of some of them. I've found the clips on eBay. So yeah, here we go. So I really like the mango ones. Probably up there as my number one. I do like ciders that are quite sweet, but with their ciders, they are a little bit flat in like a nice flat way.
Hmm.
So I sort of really enjoy them. So I always sort of shout and rave about them. The strawberry one as well. I think they're sort of the main two that I sort of have a lot of. Some other brands as well. You can probably see them on the wall. They're Magnas, things like that. We all enjoy sort of cider. So, but I
It's a
think
summer
also,
smasher, isn't it? Sort of thing.
oh yeah, 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 yeah. I think rums are now quite a strong one for me, to be honest. We've sort of moved on to. I guess now I'm older in life. You sort of like new things. I've been trying a few more rums out the last sort of few years, and I've been sort of leaning more towards having rum than cider. But cider is still quite a strong one there, I have to say.
Yeah, so have you got a favourite? Because I mean, I love my spice rum as well. I mean, I don't
Mm.
because of all the beer and stuff. I don't really have much time to try new ones and drink new ones.
Yes.
But it's always nice when you get a bottle. Someone's gifted you one or whatever. Have you got a particular favourite rum?
For me, it's probably Kraken. That's a really nice one. Been having that for quite a few years now, so that's always something we normally have in
Yeah,
my shed. It normally ends up being drunk first, so there's
yeah.
always the other rums available, but everyone loves that. So I have to say that's probably our number one. To be honest, that's what I really enjoy.
One that my wife got me liking, and we tend to have it. We haven't got a bottle in the shed, but one we tend to have when we go out is plantation rum. I don't know if you've
Okay,
ever
right.
tried that before.
No,
That's the
no, I
first.
haven't actually heard of that one.
Yeah,
No,
that
not
was
heard of
it's a really, really good one. You might recognise it. I don't know if it's the one that's kind of got the fancy netting on the outside of it or something like that.
Oh, okay, yes.
The
Is it
bottles.
available at like local supermarkets? Do they
I
sell it, or is it
think it is.
more?
I know that when we go in a bar, my wife goes, "Oh, they've got plantation rum," and it's like you've got to have one, sort of
Yeah.
thing. So, yeah, I'm not 100% sure if supermarkets stock it or not. They may do, but
Mm.
yeah, definitely worth one having a look for if you're into your rums. But yeah, I
Yeah,
got to
yeah,
agree
will
with
do.
you. The Kraken's great.
Price is
So
good, yeah.
I don't drink enough of it to really, taste the full
Yes.
range of what there
Yeah,
is
yeah,
and stuff. In terms of cider, um, again, it's not something I've had much of recently, but I was always dead against cider because I hated apple flavors. Can't
right.
stand apple
Uh-huh,
flavored
uh-huh.
drinks. But then, obviously, when I discovered that, actually, it's not just apple cider, which was the old
Yeah, yeah,
traditional
yeah.
sort of thing. There's this,
Mhm.
it's more like your fruited
Yeah,
strawberry and all that kind of stuff. Definitely, yeah. When it's absolutely roasting hot, a
yeah, yeah.
cider could go down just on. It's like dilute pop or something. It's as easy as drinking that,
To
isn't
to
it?
be to be fair, dude, that's what it's like for me all year round, even if it's snowing, cider's fine, you know what I mean? But yes, yeah, it is nice, mainly when it's warm with a little bit of ice as well. Always a treat.
So, if we were to turn up at the Gnomes Rest, you are based in. Remind us, are you in the sort of mid Nottinghamshire,
Yeah, mid
Derbyshire area?
Knots, Derbyshire, we're sort of sat in the middle, so it depends who you ask, depends on where we live, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah. If we were to knock on your door, open the door, and go in on a
Mhm.
normal Friday or Saturday night, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
you might be having a quick game of Warhammer or whatever. But what
Yes,
might
yes.
we expect to hear coming out of your speakers?
So I've got a few playlists I've made over the last year, to be honest. Quite a range in terms of what songs we listen to. So it is really really broad. So we quite like rock, quite into 80s music as well. I feel like I'm a lot older on the inside than what I actually am. But to be honest, mate, absolutely anything in our shed, to be honest. It changes every day. It can change every half an hour. We'll listen to a few songs and think, oh, want to change the mood up a little bit. We'll play this. We have been having the radio on, so obviously your show on quite often in the shed now. We sort of like to have that on because we like hearing all the adverts and things like that, and also listening to all the other sheddies.
I
Little
suppose
segments.
when you're talking about how you go from one style of
Yeah,
music to another with
yeah,
Alien Radio, that's pretty handy in it because one
yeah,
minute
yeah. It is. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
have
It's
Perry
literally
Como,
anything.
yeah, you could
Yeah.
have Perry Como followed by like what do you call her, Becky Hill or whatever.
Yeah, 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 yeah. To be fair, the last few times we have spent time in the shed, it is normally the radio on because it's just literally, as you say, you can have one genre and then the next minute it's something completely wild and completely different. So
And
yeah,
you don't have to. I find, and certainly since obviously moving off Spotify onto Mixcloud and stuff, and then doing the
Mhm.
radio, it's less of an effort now. Thinking, oh, what do I want to put on, and what can I decide on listening to? You just stick the radio on, and it's kind of chosen for you, isn't it? And
Yes, yeah,
yeah,
that's right. I agree. I have to say it is really good. I have been enjoying it, and I normally have it on sometimes at work. So if I'm working from home, I'll have it on in the background. So it's always nice when it's on.
so
It's always
it's always the weekend at the Gnomes Rest as well. Then.
oh, always every day, every day.
Good stuff. So let's before we finish and ask you about the song that we're going to finish with and play for you.
Yes, yeah.
Let's ask about your YouTube channel then, because we had a really good chat at the start, just about a couple of things, like the
Mhm.
insulation and the heating and what we do in the
Yes,
pub shed
yeah.
when it comes to that. This is what you're about, really, isn't it? Sort of like offering tips and advice for other
Yeah,
people.
that's
And
right. Yeah, yeah.
there's a lot of people who are getting started and always new people in the community. So you have a YouTube channel, don't you?
Yes, that's right. So I started out doing a few shows, so quite similar to what you have done. I started out, so I did some just before Christmas. I wanted to sort of to like create stuff from my shed, and I thought about doing a little bit of a show. So there's a few episodes out there. If you want to listen to them, you can. There's not been any since about January time. But I sort of thought I wanted to do something a little bit more creative, and I've got a lot of stuff to like film because I used to make films on the side as well as a hobby. So I've always have all the stuff there ready, and I've been always into like creating videos. I did like live streams and things like that, and I thought, what if I made a little channel? I think I've got about 3 videos up at the minute about how my like shed was made, a little bit more about my shed. But I made a YouTube channel essentially sort of help spread the word of the shed community. I've been in talks with some local micro pubs to me, doing a little video on them, so sort of how they started, which I'm quite excited for. I have got a few hopefully lined up. It's just finding time when they're free and I'm free. I think that's the main struggle with any adult interaction. It's finding time everybody's free to film and stuff. But there's also a local brewery that I've been emailing and sort of finding out if they are interested. So it's just sort of trying to find ways to like spread the word of the shed community in a way. But I've been really enjoying making the videos. As I say, there's I think 3, there might be 2 or 3 I think out at the moment. But I'll be sort of any like shed tips I can think of, I'll make a little video. But I think at the moment it's just sort of more about my journey so far.
There's certainly so much scope to go with that. We spoke at the start just about a couple of things, heating and insulation. That could be one quite chunky episode in itself. Or the choices of flooring or how you do the ceiling or whatever. You could just go on forever, really. There's so much, and it could be a really good guide for people who are making a start. So please do go check out the Gnomes Rest. Is it as simple to find as is it the Gnomes Rest on YouTube?
I think it is literally, if you just search the Gnomes Rest straight in there, it should come up. We've only got a few subscribers at the minute, so I'm not sure if more subscribers means you show up at the top. But if you just search us, we are on there, and hopefully more videos will be out soon-ish.
And of course, you can go find obviously the Gnomes Rest on Instagram as well, and all the links and everything are there anyway in your bio. So that's the easiest way to do it. But yeah, Brad, thank you very much for coming on the show.
No, thank you for having me.
Really appreciate it. It's been a really great chat, and I'm sure people would have loved listening to your story and your journey. And what song then can we finish that most represents you or yourself? What shall we play? Yeah.
So I've been thinking about this the last few days, and obviously you probably know from the start of my journey, there's a lot of stuff in there about some of the family members that we lost, and unfortunately, I really wish they were around to see the shed. So I sort of thought it might be a bit weird, but I thought if I could turn back time as my song sort of end the segment, because I really wish we could turn back time. We had the shed a bit earlier, and we could invite all those family members that aren't here anymore into the shed to hang out. So I would like to end that for my song, if that's okay.
Excellent. Love the meaning behind that. And there could be additional meanings for other people, like, oh, if only I'd have done that when I built my pub.
That's if only I insulated my shed in the winter, that's it.
There's certainly things that I've done in here that I think, I wish I could turn back the clock, and it's just too much effort now to get things moved around and stuff. But I'm sure a lot of people will be thinking the same. Brad, thank you very much.
That's all right, dude. Thank you for having me. All the best.